This video is going to show you solo Grandmaster Nightfall on the Glassway. This is the weekly featured GM for this week, so I'm not just doing this off my own back because I don't have the node selected to select any GM that I want, because I already have the CONQUEROR Gilded sale which I got day one with my team. So just bear that in mind. So I can only do the solo GMs as they come up. So far we've done Scarlet Keep already, Arms Dealer. This week it's Glassway. So I wanted to commit to Glassway, see if we could get it done, because I've actually never soloed Glassway. I haven't put many attempts into it, to be honest. Back in the day, that particular season when it first came out, I was barely playing Destiny as it was. I put a couple of attempts into it, don't get me wrong, but I did quite find Glassway to be a little bit annoying, but more knowledge. I have more knowledge about Glassway since then. And there's been some changes with GMs. GMs are now easier than what they were. Not terribly too easier, but you know, not easier to the point where, you know, they're super easy, but to the point where you can make some loadouts work to your advantage, which I'll get into as we go throughout the run. But to start, weapon-wise, using the exotic grain launcher Witherhoard, an anti-barrier bow under your skin with Archer's Tempo and Explosive Head, both enhanced perks. We're using a Field Prep Clown cartridge Royal Entry, which is Void. We're using all Void weapons because the buff Acute Burn is Void for this GM. So we get a 25% weapon damage bonus to our weapons. We need to take advantage of that. Even if there is arc shields and stuff and solar shields, it doesn't matter. You're better off just matching the burn, because you can over-penetrate match game shields anyways, because you're on a Void 3.0 subclass. You have debuff via your grenade. You can take down match game shield, not too bad anyways. So that's mainly what you want to do. But this rocket's critical for the run, because we need to be able to double rocket champs. The way I've set my class up is for the boss fight. It's not for the start. So all this bit, you know, getting up to the boss fight is really easy. Pretty much anyone can get to the boss fight. The boss fight itself is done. It takes me, I don't know, I think it's 40-50 minutes I spend at the boss fight alone, or maybe 45 minutes, something like that, and then it takes me 20-25 minutes to get to the boss itself. This bit, what we're doing right now, is just getting there. Now notice I don't have an overload weapon on. I only have overload grenades on. For this first section here, you want to take out the overload first before you jump down. But you need to take out all the wretches, because the wretches will melt you while you try and melt the champ. So we can use Witherhoard to spawn kill a lot of them. When they jump up on the cliff, I can use a bit of Witherhoard. Right? Witherhoard mainly is going to be for spawn killing ads, doing huge amounts of damage while we're invis, because we're using the invis setup. Which I'll quickly go over my aspects and fragments. Just know that what we're doing here though, don't push up. Don't spawn in the barrier until you kill the overload. So we do a double rocket, Witherhoard, and the grenade. And that's enough. One Witherhoard, two rockets, the grenade is enough to clear the champ. On overload, you need to do that if you're going to run my setup, which my setup, once you get used to the playstyle of it, it's really handy for you at the boss. But anyways, going into what I was saying, my invis setup is the exotic chestplate Omnioculus. Aspects are Trapper's Ambush, Vanishing Step, Fragments, Echo of Undermining, Echo of Persistence, Echo of Remnants. Remnants makes our grain last longer, which is critical for champs. Echo of Undermining for the debuff on enemies, critical. Echo of Persistence means our invis last longer. So you really need Echo of Persistence. You need to fit that in somewhere. Now, I didn't really like Omnioculus, to be honest, when it first came out. I preferred, you know, Six Coyote and Graviton and stuff. But since the changes, like with the Void Hunter, now you have got Trapper's Ambush, which is a melee ability. You jump in mid-air, and then you activate your class ability. It's quite insane. It's quite, you know, it's a really good ability. So now I've got two of them. Pair that with 100% ability, you're going to have plenty of the Trapper's Ambush. So that's why I went this setup. Now, whatever invis setup you're used to do it, the only thing is Omnioculus has resistance. So when you do go invis, you get a resist. So that's really handy in GMs. Not only that, I've got land tank on my bow, which stacks with the resist from the chest plate. I've also got Reactive Pulse on, so when I'm charged with light, when I get a finisher kill, I get a powerful overshield. That is critical because we're going to be finishing a lot of champs, which gives us heavy because we've got loosened finisher on our cape. We've also got bomber on our cape, so when we do our class ability, we get great energy. Boots has powerful friends to attain 100% mobility. Rocket launcher scavenger on the boots. Chest plate, the resistance is, now there's different ways you can go with it. I wouldn't recommend sniper resist. I would recommend void resist, thermo shock. Void resist will protect against Rivens, overload minotaurs. The thermo shock will do two things: protect you against, stop you from being one shot from arc fallen snipers, and the solar. I mean, there's not a lot of solar in this, so, but the main thing is you get an arc and void. But the thermo shock's a dual mod. The gauntlets, we have grenade kickstart with elemental charge. Chest plate also has reap and wellmaker, so when we use our class ability, once we get a any weapon kill, we get a void elemental well. We then pick up that well, get charge of light. We have reactive pulse because we're going to be finishing a lot of targets. So this is really good for the setup. So that's the bulk of my armor mods. What happened there is I didn't clear out the overload. Now that was just unfortunate. My second tether, because Mobius Quiver has, you know, 2 tethers attached to it if you're not running Orpheus. The second one didn't get a direct hit. It needs to be a direct hit. For whatever reason, it didn't hit. So I have to restart up again. So we'll use our class ability to get great energy, stuff like that, and we'll wait for the overload to get into position. I'm not going to clear out the major yet. If you cleared out the fallen mini boss, the overload will hide. So try to not clear the mini boss until you've killed the overload, because the overload's going to be a pain to you. Because if you have to push up to get him, you spawn in the barrier. The barrier will then shield the overload, and then you're in trouble. So try not to do that. If you're invis, the overloads won't teleport. That's huge to know that, and I'll use that tactic quite a lot. So I do my double rocket, Witherhoard. Witherhoard generally will stop the champs from regenning as well. If they're really weak, the Witherhoard will just about finish off that champ. I done another rocket just to be safe because that captain was giving me issues. We'll do a Witherhoard on the stairs, try and spawn kill as many adds as possible before the barrier comes into the scene. We've cleared out some of the adds. There's a sniper still up, I know that, so I've got to be careful here. We'll just sit back here, play from a distance, just take out what adds we can. I don't want to rush this too much. But here's the beauty of this Witherhoard setup on here. I can Witherhoard the champ, go invis, let Witherhoard do the damage, then get a quick shield break with my bow, because my bow will two-shot because it's a void weapon. Takes advantage of the void acute burn. So it just makes the champ a little bit easier. I'm just going to use my tether here for easiness. I could have went for the finisher kill and stuff like that, but there was heavy on the floor. However, I could have stored up some heavy off the champ. It was fine. The reason being is because my rocket is a good roll in terms of field prep stacks with rocket scavenger. And I've got rocket finder on as well. So I'm never really short on ammo, and I've also got the loosen finisher. And even if I don't get to the... even if later on I'm lowish on heavy, there's always opportunities to get more heavy. There was heavy back here. There was actually a couple of bricks back here. I'm gonna burn one of these rockets because I always like to have 2 rockets loaded. It's really critical, especially if I'm about to fight a champ. If it's not a champ, then I won't do that. Or if I can optimize and use the rocket on something else in the meantime, I will. But you will see me at times burn rockets because having 1 rocket loaded, if I try and take out a champ with just the 1 rocket, it's not enough, and I need to 1-cycle champs. It's the safest way as well, because if you try and use an auto rifle, or you know, especially at the boss fight, I'm not saying it doesn't work. What I'm saying is you're doing sustained fire. The longer you do sustained fire, the higher chance you die. It's as simple as that. With the grenade and the rocket combo, You're one cycle on that champ, so you're in and then you're out. Look at this damage here. I done a grenade right at that pillar, if you like. 2 rockets, a Witherhoard, invis, and then jump back straight away. I got sniped, but Thermoshock saved us. There was a high chance I was gonna get sniped there because I played a little aggressive. If you want to play aggressive up into the boss fight, you can, because there's not really a big penalty to it. Because getting to the boss fight is really easy. If you've never done this, it won't take you long to master just to get to the boss fight. It takes you around 20 to 25 minutes. I was a little slow getting to the boss fight, to be honest. I played pretty slow. I played pretty slow in the entire run, but I was happy enough with it because I don't have to farm it because I got it done in one run, which I was super surprised with. I have actually never soloed Glassway GM. When it first came out, I wasn't that interested in soloing it because it was a little bit all over the place and it was a little bit tougher then, and I wasn't willing to commit to it. But GM's, as I said, a little bit easier now with the acute burn. I know it's only 25%, but 25% is something. Not only that, subclasses have been buffed since then. Nightstalker is, if anything, is better than what it's ever been, which I'm actually pleased with because I've always loved Nightstalker. I know it is a little bit of an exploit with the invis. I mean, it's not an exploit because it's it's intended. Bungie has made they've made invisibility the way it is. Like, they haven't just by mistake pressed the wrong button and give us, you know, double invis aspects. This is the way it's meant to be, the way they've intended it. So it's not an exploit. If you do use Nightstalker Hunter in a GM, you are not cheesing that. You can't say that because it's a class that everyone can use. So it's fair game, isn't it? Anyone can use it. But it does make, obviously the Hunter does make GMs easier, especially ones like this. I'm going to use a Tether here. Witherhoard Tether, just to get rid of this fallen mini-boss. Once the mini-boss gets below half HP, you can push up to this rock. He will not stasis nade you. If he's at full HP, he will. So he de-aggroes once he gets below like half HP. You can then push to this rock and you can do easier damage. There'll be a couple of snipers maybe still left alive. You just need to be careful of that. Shoot any mines down. This is like the line in the sand mechanic I was saying on a previous video, a couple of videos back. Once you get past a certain line on the map, the ads spawn in. I don't have a nade, but I have Witherhoard, so I'm going to spawn trap, spawn kill the ads to the left, and then spawn kill any ads quickly before that barrier makes up distance. I got a couple of ads, not as many as I would have liked. The barrier can only actually tether so many ads, so at least clear out the ones you can take. It might be 4 ads, I can't mind how many it is, but you can see there's still some ads not tethered. So we'll take those out first. Now I'm going to fight from this rock area here. And we're just going to let Witherhoard do the work. I'm not willing to use heavy right now. I'm actually going to go for the finisher. I think I go for the finisher kill as well. So this is me just showing you how good the Witherhoard is. Now I could have went Disruption Break. I don't have any void weapon with Disruption Break though. I've got an Arc Scout Rifle and a Solar Scout Rifle with that. I could have went my Vision of Confluence with Disruption Break. That gives a 50% buff to Witherhoard. The reason why I didn't, as I guess, is because it's not that critical. Because what's more important is having a Void Primary on that is able to one-shot ads, and that's more valuable to me. But if you want to go Disruption Break Primary, you can certainly do it. You'll find you'll delete barriers if you do that. You won't even need to use heavy on them. That's how good it is. And there's something to be said about that, because that means you can save up on the ammo, especially at the boss fight. You can keep doing your loose and finishers. You still get a brick, whether you're full ammo or not. So if I have 9 rockets, I get 2 finisher kills. That's 2 bricks on the floor. That could be 8 rockets on the floor. 4 rockets per brick. 4 bricks. I believe it's 4. Because the field prep and the rocket scavengers stack. So, in other words, a standard royal entry with no field prep will give you 2. Put on rocket launcher scav on your boots, you get 3. Field prep on your royal entry then gives you 4. So 2 bricks is 8 rocket. The ammo economy on this rocket, I've been using it for it might be more than 12 months. I've been using it ages. It's my go-to GM rocket for solo play. So I do recommend you farm up the roll entry. I don't know what the ideal farm is nowadays, but always check your roll entry rolls. It's one of the best rockets in the game, and it's got inbuilt tracking. So what I'm going to do here is, which I haven't really discussed at all so far, is I'm going to skip this entire zone. The reason for that is this run isn't going to be platinum rank. This run's focused on you getting the Triumph for the CONQUEROR Gilded sale. The Triumph does not state that you need to get platinum rank to get the Triumph. So it's just a completion. So this solo is just focused on somebody who wants to get a completion on Glassway. And just because I'm skipping an odd champ or two doesn't mean it's going to be any easier. The boss fight's still going to be really difficult. All this does is it just saves me a little bit of time. That's all it does. Because I had no intentions of getting platinum rank. For my first clear, if someone said to me, right, you're going to have a go at it this morning, would you rather your first, like if you said, right, your first clear is you're going to get it first clear, but you won't get plat. I would say I'm happy with that. And that's how it turned out. First clear this morning, first go this morning, got the clear, didn't get platinum, but my intention wasn't there to get plat. Still got the clear. So I'm happy enough with that. At a later date, I might get the plat run, which isn't a problem. Since I've run it and I'm more, what's the word? Familiar with Glassway now, on the GM difficulty at least, because I wasn't very familiar with it. I mean, when you run it on Master, that's a different ball game. None of the ads hit hard enough for anything to matter, so I knew all the ad spawns. And all that stuff. It was just a case of map rotation. I didn't really know what I was doing with the boss. Where can you have the boss stand? Stuff like that. But I'd seen a couple of runs. I'd seen Live Mondo's run, which was insane. Make sure you check out his run. And I learned a lot from his run. And his commentary was fantastic. It was insane. But I learned a lot from his run. And thought, right, I'll have a go at it myself. And this is basically the end product. So with the plate section here, with the shanks, I just take it, step by step, because there's no point risking this. Alright, I could go invis on the plate and all that stuff, and the shanks will eventually push up on the plate, so you can do your gambler's dodge to stay invisible, stuff like that. But it doesn't really matter. There's exploder shanks. There's no solar shanks. Here's a fun fact. If you're in a team, the ad spawns are different. If you're solo, the ad spawns do not have solar shanks. Very interesting, and that's done on purpose. Ever since Glassway launched, that was a thing. I've always wondered why that was. I guess they've actually play tested it solo and said that this would be too much. Although it wouldn't be, but somebody somewhere's made a decision along the line. It's quite interesting. I'd like to see more of that. Maybe other GMs, maybe the more difficult ones, maybe sort of ease up the ad spawns a little bit differently, or I'm not saying make them too easy, but maybe just certain ones. Not any of the, I'm not talking about any GMs that are up this season, maybe other ones. But we're going to get a stun on this champ. Notice that I was invis. The reason why I went invis first is to stop the champ from teleporting. So that's really good, because these fallen captains, to me, they are worse than the Overlord Minotaurs. Overlord Minotaurs I can control a little bit better. So with the captains, go invis first, right? Then nade. I would say nade, Witherhoard, then double rocket. It doesn't really matter so much the order you do it in, but it's probably better Witherhoard first, right? And spread your rockets out a little bit. Once you've done all that, the champ should die. Or you have the opportunity to finish. See, because I don't do the damage isn't the whole HP bar, so Witherhoard will just about finish the champ off. But if you go and approach the champ and get a finisher kill before Witherhoard kills him, you get the loose and finisher to proc. And I'll do more of that at the boss fight. I'm not really going to do it so much now. I am going to sort of keep an eye on my rockets, though. I don't want to be going to the boss fight with any less than max, to be honest. But I need to use rockets on overloads. Like I don't have any other option, because I don't have the overload for anything else. But it'll become clear why I go with a horde, because as I said, I'm not set up for platinum really. I'm more set up for. I mean, to be fair, I could have got platinum rank on this run actually. But my loadout has the boss fight in mind, because the boss fight's the trouble. Getting to the boss fight, I would say it's one of the easiest Nightfalls to get to the boss fight of any boss fight. You can take everything from distance. This solar shank's being a pain right now though. I have no solar on, but that's fine. We're going to use a tether for that. I could have tethered the champ. That was one thing I didn't say. So I don't always have to double rocket an overload. I can grenade and then use my tether, and that will get a champ finishable. It'll actually kill him. The nade will actually he'll die to the grenade, so you can get a finisher kill if you want, or just let the champ die out. It depends on the situation, depends on how many ads are around. This is me more referring to the boss, because the commentary for the boss is going to be what helps you the most. Right now, I'm just going to play from a range. All the ad spawns, it's that line in the sand mechanic that I say about. The further you push up, the more vandals that spawn over the top of the walls. They jump down, some of them don't, some of them are snipers. In total, I believe there's 4 snipers. 2 snipers left, 2 snipers right, I think. One interesting thing about that is if you clear one of the buddies of the snipers, so say you clear one of them on left, the other one on left goes right into middle. Just keep an eye on them snipers, man. They're very... they can snipe you from an angle you wouldn't see. This is where I'm fighting from right now is actually really good. I'm taking it slow though. There's a barrier champion which I'm not going to take till the end, because the barrier champion I want to get a finisher kill on. You know, I'm adamant on getting a finisher kill on the champ. So I'm going to basically deal with all the vandals, all the snipers, everything essentially. What that will then do is cause the barrier, the AI of the barrier will back up to the right to the exit of the map. Whereas if there's ads alive, the barrier will push you. So the champ de-aggroes when there's no ads left, or very little ads. You'll see that happen. I actually end up having some trouble with the barrier, not because of myself, just because of what the barrier sometimes does. Because there's Vex Milk below us now, you take arc tick damage from that. Now arc acute burn isn't on, but it still does massive amounts of damage to you. The arc resistance, the thermal shock, will help you survive against it. I end up falling down in the arc pool because I need to get a finish kill on the champ. You'll see it coming up very shortly. Make sure you shoot these mines, because these mines do a lot of damage to you. So make sure you're not lazy like me, and make sure you're shooting them down when possible. When I was doing this run, I didn't expect a completion, so that's why you might see the run a little slow. And I mean, it's not too bad, you know, but it's not fully optimized. But I'm happy enough with a completion for now. The snipers have jumped down. They're at the back of the map, so we're taking those out. The barrier is de-aggroing. Look, he's going at the back of the map. Unbeknown to me, there is one sniper left, or one vandal. He's not a sniper. I shouldn't have done that. Never rocket a barrier at full HP, especially if it's a servitor. They tend just to teleport out of it. I don't know why I end up doing that. That's fine. I need 2 rockets in the chamber anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So what my goal here is I'm trying to take this vandal, because even one vandal can be trouble to you when you're trying to take down a shield on a barrier or something. So I'm just trying to bait this vandal out of the champ, which he does right now, so I'll use Witherhoard. Notice my Witherhoard ammo. The entire run I never run out of Witherhoard. And I haven't even got GL Scavenger on, GL Ammo Finder, nothing. It's almost as if Witherhoard, I don't know if what everyone else thinks about it. It almost feels like it's got inbuilt Scavenger into the weapon. Like, it just seems to have... I mean, it's obviously really good ammo economy per shot. For solo play, it's one of the king exotics, if not one of the best. But I never run out of Witherhoard. And this is me talking from experience from over the, you know, over the years with using it. So look, the barrier has disengaged, it's down below. I get the overshield. I screw up my jump, nearly die, but the overshielding overall helps me. If the champion does that, don't go for the finisher. You're just going to have to wash your hands of it. You wash your hands of it and you're just going about your day and you'll get ammo later on for it. But that's basically getting up to the boss fight. This is the boss fight itself now. So as we start with the boss fight, we're going to have 2 spawns of dregs to each side, left and right. You want to stay out of sight of the overload. He can really melt you down from over here, so he's doing a lot of damage to me there. The thermal shock was actually helping me out against that. So I told a lie before. The thermal shock for the solar actually helps out against the fallen overloads. The main thing there though is taking out the 4 dregs, because they will nade you constant until until you sort of. So until you deal with them, you can't deal with the overload. It's not safe. So what I'm doing here is I'm positioning myself in such a way that I'm close to the portal. There's portal left and right for adds. So I want to do a bit of spawn killing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to spend the ammo. So I'll get my 2 rockets. I can finish as well. So I've replenished my ammo and I got an additional brick. And now we're close to the portal. So I'm going to go all the way on my left hand side. And I'm going to try and get some spawn killing adds. I'm not trying to clear the overloads. I'm just trying to clear out any goblins and stuff. I didn't actually clear any. They teleported so fast. But you'll see me do that on later phases more often with the spawn killing. So as we start, you're going to be greeted with the mini hydra, 2 overloads, and a couple of goblins. The adds, right, are tied to the mini hydra. The mini hydra controls the whole thing, which is actually a really unique thing. I actually quite like it. So the goal is not to melt the mini hydra, because if you do that, you're gonna punish yourself. So it's 4 champions per phase. If we split this up into 3 phases, because the hydra has 3 bars of HP, so for every bar you get 4 champions. But on the initial phase you get the 2 champions. Once you do a 3rd HP, or half of a bar, half of a 3rd, you then get another 2 overloads that spawn in halfway. The goal is to take out the initial 2 overloads before you do any damage really to the hydra. You can do a little bit of damage, but don't do it to the point where you get vex reinforcements. That is the critical thing. The hydra, the mini one, can be controlled to a certain degree. He does a little bit of damage to you, but he doesn't melt you that much. He's not that dangerous, and he will de-aggro this hydra. He sometimes go through phases of doing a bit of damage to you, and then sometimes he'll just pitch up somewhere and just shoot down an alley that you're not there, especially if you're winning invis and stuff like that. So I'm taking this super slow. What I'm wanting to do is take out all the goblins, really. I'm also wanting to separate these champs. Now the hydra will follow you wherever you go, left and right. Obviously all the adds will as well, but the hydra more so. The hydra can be dangerous when there's a lot of other adds alive. So it's a case of you need to isolate. That is the biggest thing. That's the key thing that you take away from this is map rotation, isolate. You do those 2 things, yeah, you've won half the battle. You've won half the battle. It's just moments of opportunity, and you need to take the moments of opportunity, but you need to make sure that the decision that you've made is safe enough that you will not die from whatever you're going to do. And that could be you really need to micromanage what you're doing, because this isn't easy stuff. It isn't. Glassway is easier than what it used to be, but the mechanics of Glassway are still the same as what they were. The ad spawns are still the same as what they were. So you still need to be on the ball on what you're going to do, you know. Not only that, I'm just going to say, chaff, having no radar in Glassway is brutal. If chaff wasn't on, this Nightfall, I'm just going to say it would be a lot easier than what it is. You don't know where you are. Like, sorry, you don't know where the ads are. What you should do, really, is turn off all your music and just have SFX, which I've said a couple of times. I actually didn't in this. I should have done. I generally do. Because you can hear the footsteps of Vex walking around corners. You can hear the noises of Rivens coming around a corner, and that's all critical information. He's an Overload. I was trying to aggro the Overload there. You saw what I was doing. I'm a bit unsure. Anytime unsure, invis. And time out your invises. This Overload, to be honest, I could have took him there. I was just a little frightened, a little nervous at this point. So I decided not to. I get more confident as the run goes on, though. We take him here, actually. So, grenade. I was invis as well, so that means he can't detect me, and he's not going to teleport. Then we go invis. We're doing a dodge. I didn't have time to jump up and do the Trapper's Ambush. And I think the Hydra can actually do a mini stomp. I know they don't have feet, but they can sort of... When you get close, he does the... I think he does like an attack. Where he like sort of bashes you. I'm sure that that's what he does. So don't get too close to the Hydra if you're not in biz. That's why I went immediately in biz there, because that Hydra pushed me as I was just dealing with that Overload. I got to finish a kill as well. That's critical. I'm going to try and finish as many champs as possible, because at that point, you're stockpiling ammo for the later phases of the fight, which is really critical. So now I'm just weighing up I'm weighing up my opportunity. There's a mini Hydra over the other side, just sort of scouting me. It wouldn't be a good idea to take that Overload, so I need to reevaluate and look for another opportunity to take this Overload. Right now the risks are low, because I've only got the Hydra and I've only got the Overload, although he did do a massive amount of damage to me there, but that's fine, because I was round the corner. So we'll get a grenade on here, and then we'll use our super, because the Hydra pushed. I did not know he was pushing like that. So our super's our panic button. And that's mainly when I'll use it. I'll try and use it on many champs as possible. I won't use my super on anything else really, for the most part. Mainly just champs. That's where it's most effective. Just being able to melt down and Overload so quickly and then go invis immediately is so valuable to you. So now we can do damage to the Hydra. So this is now showing you the mechanics. Spawn by spawn, phase by phase. So we're still on the first phase. As I said, there'll be another 2 Overloads spawning in. They will spawn about halfway off the first bar of the Hydra. So you're going to see. Look at the bottom left, it will tell you Vex reinforcements are coming in. Now what you can do is, when you get the second wave on the first phase, is melt down the Hydra so he's out of your hair. He's in your hair now for no reason at all. Get him out of your road, because it's something to worry about. He can push and you don't know, right? So if you want to just go invis, get a Witherhoard shot, go invis, and sort of take the Hydra away to make him disappear, then do that. That's fine. That way you can then isolate the champs. You know, because if 2 Overloads push, you know, you try and go for one, but the other one flanks you, and then the Hydra comes, you're in trouble. Unless you can get an invis there, and then you're in massive trouble. So it's all about evaluating and playing to what you're comfortable with. Right, it's one of those GMs where play how you are, how you're comfortable with. Take your opportunity. You know, if you're really experienced with this GM and you've done this solo on this GM quite a couple of times, then you know you can improve your time, try and get better times and stuff like that. But if you're somebody who hasn't even soloed it at all and want to, then I would recommend, you know, you sort of slow down a little bit. Take each ad as it comes. Use Witherhoard to spawn kill a lot of them. You know, stuff like that. This Overload's been a little bit awkward, and there's a goblin still alive, so I'm going to map rotate between left and right. That's the biggest thing. I'm evaluating to see if I can do this. I can, because he's not even looking at me, so that's fine. I should have probably done Witherhoard then double rocket, but you can see the Witherhoard stopping him from regenerating there. The nade was still just up as well. So the timing does work if you do double rocket Witherhoard, or I think better is Witherhoard then double rocket, because then there's all that time elapsed for Witherhoard to do more damage to that target. Either way, it works. And then if you want to get a finisher kill on top of that, which I highly recommend you do that when possible, it's probably easier on the barriers than it is on the overloads. You know, it's one of those. Not only that though, you're going to get ammo drops anyways without finishing targets. You're still going to get bricks because you've got rocket finder on and stuff like that. So now we just need to isolate this last champ. Once we do that, we'll do damage to the Hydra, and then that will be the first main phase done. So this isn't too bad so far. You can see the risk hasn't been that much. It hasn't been, you know, I've only been one shot once. That was just because of what I see. The biggest thing I can see people getting wiped from is when they walk around a corner and they're confronted by a Riven or an Overload. That's where you're going to get your deaths. And if they melee you, I think it's a one shot. So when you go around a corner, just pay huge attention to what you're walking into. And if you are confronted with an Overload, you know, either go invis immediately or go right back around that corner you came from. Depends on how many ads are alive as well. Okay, so that's the Overload dealt with. Now the Hydra on his own isn't too bad. So we'll use Witherhoard. Witherhoard's really good for this. This is where Witherhoard's going to come in critical. This is why I went Witherhoard, because it's going to do easy damage for us on major targets. It assists with overloads. It assists on boss damage. So I haven't even done boss damage yet. You're going to see the boss damage now. This is one of the main reasons. It's going to speed up boss damage, make it easy, because Witherhoard will penetrate the shield. The boss has a rotating shield. The Witherhoard goes right through that and then sticks him. So it does your body shot damage with the Witherhoard. And then you can do additional damage with your bow. And it just makes it really easy. Now we're gonna do damage to the boss from the left hand side. Why is that? Well, because the boss can't hit us. We can't get a critical hit with our bow, but who cares? We're doing boss damage anyways. So we're just gonna keep using Witherhoard. We're gonna spam it because we get plenty of ammo for Witherhoard. So we're gonna. Witherhoard's not your worry. Your rockets are the worry, ammo wise. You'll find you get plenty of Witherhoard if you're gonna use this strap. So I'm just going to keep Witherhoard on the boss every now and then when it runs out. Obviously it doesn't stack like that. It does if you get one on the floor, but I'm not really too fussed as long as I'm doing damage. Once the boss gets to a third HP, where the first third HP is taken off, the second main phase starts. And that's where it gets more interesting. But the fight does get harder as it goes on, because you've killed so many champions, you know, you might have run out of ammo. I mean, you shouldn't. But you're going to have less ammo than what you would at the start. But if you're doing the correct finishings, I suppose, with lose some finisher and stockpiling ammo anytime you can, then you should be good for the entire fight. Don't use rockets on the boss. That will be a bit of a waste, unless you're really confident and you've got tons of heavy on the floor. I would refrain. That's what Witherhoard's job is. Witherhoard's job is to do damage to the boss. It's to do damage. Witherhoard does all the damage. This boss's HP actually got nerfed. This boss used to be tankier than this. So the boss isn't tanky. Not very tanky at all. So notice I'm on left hand side. This is where we're going to do some spawn killing. So I don't know if I use a tether here. I do. But the tether doesn't turn out to be that good. Unfortunately. I was going to rocket here, but the Riven sort of hid. The Riven, he's one shot. Now there's two Rivens on this phase. On the second phase, it changes to barrier champions. Well, actually, there's 4 champions on the second phase. It's 4. Is it no? Is it 2 barriers, 2 overloads? I think it's 2 barriers, 2 overloads, or is it just? I think so. Yeah. But this is Rivens here. So these are your big hitters. These are the ones that are gonna really test your patience. You can't confront a Riven for more than a second. That's why the rocket comes in. That's why rockets are so good for this, because you can just rocket and run, rocket and run. If you got time to double rocket, do it. But if you're unsure on that, just do the one. Or better yet, do Witherhoard and then Invis. If you can, you know, if you see a Riven walking around the corner, immediately, if he doesn't see you, Witherhoard to the body, Invis, and run away. Witherhoard will do surprisingly a lot of damage to the Riven. It won't one-shot them, because Rivens are really tanky, but it will do a lot of damage. Do like half HP. So this is it. The Witherhoard also assists to stop you from using too many rockets. So if you don't want to rocket the Rivens, I do kind of recommend you do that. But if you don't, you can just do the Witherhoard strat. As long as you are good enough with Witherhoard in terms of you hit your shots, and you're confident enough with the playstyle of it. For the most part, you should be using rockets on Rivens, because they are a thing that's a bit of an issue. So this is an example. I'm in Viz, right? Rivens are even facing my way. I'll do a Witherhoard shot and then a nade. So that's debuffed them at least. It won't kill him, they're weak. I'll just use a rocket. I know he was one shot, but just in case, man. Because the Riven's attack can sort of bounce off a wall, and then you take two types of damage. Direct impact damage off the shot, and the fact that it's you know, concussive, like area of effect damage on you. So that's why if you're standing next to a wall and a Riven shoots you, you're dead, no matter what. If you're out in the open and he hits you with one attack, you won't die to it. So when you're in these closed areas, be very careful with the Rivens, because their attack's really deadly. Out in the open, it's not as deadly because there's no walls near you, so to speak. Having said that, if you are out in the open, be sure that you're going invis. Whatever you're doing, you do a little bit of damage, but make sure you're going invis right after. We're going to do a bit of rotation between left and right here. This is what I'm doing, so I'm just rotating between left and right to try and get some good angles. I think I've took out 2 Rivens now, so I just want to take out the Harpies. I think there's 2 or 3. We'll let Witherhoard do that. It's very critical that you do that, because these Harpies do arc. Use a nade if you must to take down this arc shield. No, they don't do arc, they do void, sorry, which melts you. They've got arc shields, of course, which makes them a pain to deal with. You need to take them out because we need to deal with barriers. Now, he's the same thing. Now, if you melt the Hydra, you're going to get another 2 barriers. So it's all barriers on this phase, my bad, from what I said earlier. You don't want to be dealing with 4 barriers. I wouldn't recommend it, because these barriers really do hit you hard when they snipe you. They can two-shot. They can two-shot you. And they tend to buddy up. These barriers tend to buddy up as well. So on the right-hand side's really good to deal with the barriers. I'm just keeping an eye on this Hydra. Eventually he de-aggroes, and he'll sit in that little hallway. Once that happens, you sort of got a free license to start dealing with these barriers, and they will teleport to you. Look, he's coming over now. He knows where I am. Hydra is locked onto us, but can't hit us. So this is where we start doing some damage. So we'll lead with Witherhoard. We're in Viz. Make sure that you're strafe shooting with the bow. This is why we're on bow. We're not using the scout. We're not using the scout because the scout needs sustained fire. So you need, you know, 3 or 4 shots. He could snipe me while I'm doing that. With the bow, you're creeping in and out, in and out. We'll get a finish kill and then invis immediately, because the barrier there was pushing. He did damage to me, but obviously he can't one-shot because of my resistance. So we were good enough there. The Hydra's still in the building, so we're fine to take care of this barrier right now. If you can get the finisher kill, by all means, I do end up going for it actually. This is where Reactive Pulse comes in really handy, because even if I do it and there's some ads, look at I get the overshield. So it just helps out. So that's the barriers dealt with. Now we can do some damage to the Hydra. Just make sure you try and optimize those barriers, obviously, because they're easy game for finishers. You know, as long as they're not buddied up too much, where you try and finish it and then, you know, you get melted. But if you take them where I said, it's not too bad. Now we just need to do some boss damage, Hydra damage. We'll use Witherhoard there for that. For some reason this bow should be penetrating the shield. Sometimes it's giving me immune. That's quite strange. What I'm wanting to do here is melt this Hydra. I was wanting to do that. I'll use a nade because before the Rivens come, I want to get rid of this Hydra out of the way. It's less of a headache for me because the Hydras, you only have so much time. Once that ad spawn starts, you've got 10-20 seconds before they close in on your location. So he even done that melee move. That's interesting. I tried to double rocket the Riven, but he one of my rockets missed for whatever reason. But we're going to do a bit of map rotation now because both Rivens are up. The Hydra's down, so we're safe that way. But there's a bunch of ads. I think it's goblins this phase. We're just waiting our dodge. I notice I do that quite often. You know, you don't need to go heavy on the invis. Like, you don't need to be constantly invising. You've got some respite. When you do a bit of map rotation, you can sit in a corner for a little bit, let some abilities recharge, and then go again. But again, what we're trying to do is take our opportunity and try and get a good time where we single some of these Rivens out. Now this Riven thinks I'm left, so I'll shoot him. I'll do another rocket as well, because the stairs will protect me from his attack. We'll get a Witherhoard if we can. I think we stuck it. Pay attention to the what ads come up on your screen for the score count, because when you're in cover, you'll know if the Riven's being killed because it'll come up. It'll tell you what the points are, even if it's 0. So what? It's still going to tell you whether the Riven's being killed or not. Which if you Witherhoard, and that's critical to know. So like right here, I've Witherhoarded this Riven. I'm running away. Because that's always the best thing to do. I can see the damage it's doing. Riven's dead. The kill count tells me. Make sure that you do it. Now this barrier pushed me. I couldn't believe it. They can push these barriers. There's a bit of RNG with them. It's just a case of you need to be at all times with it. You need to be keeping an eye on everything. Don't let ads flank you, you know. We're trying to take out these Arc Harpies. They're kind of difficult because the barriers are sort of defending them a little bit. So I'm going to use a bit of Witherhoard. I'll use a grenade. There's a couple more Arc Harpies on this phase, 3 or 4. Because we haven't got obviously an arc bow, it makes them a little bit more difficult to deal with. The shield isn't too bad to take once we get Witherhoard stuck. It's just all that sustained fire you've got to do, and if the barrier's pushed, then you've got to consider the barrier, and if you try and overcommit to damage, you may get sniped from the barrier, and then that could start causing you problems. So. And the Harpies do void, like we've said, they can melt you once they beam you. They have like their own trace rifle thing. Once they beam you with that, you do a lot of damage. That's the beam right there. My trouble here was that the Arc Harpies weren't pushing. So I tried to reset them by going invis. But on this left hand side, it didn't seem the best place to take them. You can get them to push you as well. I didn't do a good job of getting them to push me that well. There's a barrier here that I can take. I am considering doing it. He's in a good spot, but in the end I don't, because I was terrified the Arc Harpy would push me behind my back while I'm dealing with the barrier, because I need about 10 seconds to deal with that barrier depending on how I'm going to deal with him. If I'm just doing Witherhoard bow, I might need a bit longer than that. That's enough time for the Harpy to come behind me and do damage. So I sort of just in the end just went with taking the Harpies out, because obviously you see my rockets are low. There is some bricks out there but I can save them for later. I'm gonna definitely get some finisher kills on these champs. Now this isn't a bad spot. There's different angles you can take these barriers from. It's all about whether you can strafe in and out of cover. If you can do that, then the barrier is pretty much safe to deal with. But if you're dealing with two, as I said, two barriers, if they both hit you, can kill you. One won't, providing you got the solar, the thermal shock plate. So I've decided to go with this barrier here. He's starting to strafe out my cover though, which has been a bit of a pain. So if I'm gonna push all the way out of here, I need to see where that second barrier is. He's strafing to my right, so it's not ideal. At least I don't like it. So I'm gonna disengage and then wait to see what these barriers do. There's no point over committing to damage. If I know I'm gonna die to it, don't do it. It's your golden rule. Don't overcommit. Rinse and reset. That's your biggest thing. I'm gonna actually use a tether here because I was worried about these two barriers. And we'll settle for finishing one of them rather than both. You can't have it all. Sometimes you just have to make a decision. Right, just clear the champ. Just kill him. Once you've isolated one though, then you can definitely get a finisher. Just make sure you're doing that strafe and you're watching his charged snipe shot. If you've got the timing down, it should never really hit you. We'll let Witherhoard do a lot of the work. I don't want to do too much damage to him though, as it is critical I do want that finisher, because we've still got a lot of rivals to take. We've still got some overloads to take and stuff like that. So that's the champ finishable. The timing's good, and then we get our brick, so that's great. Nearly max on heavy. We're going to do some spawn killing again. I think I do, at the very least. Left hand side, I favour left over right for some reason. We'll just do a Witherhoard shot, some bow shots, just to take out any of these goblins. Any spawn killing you do is really big to you, even if it's just a couple of goblins. It just means the more you do there, the less you need to do later. And the more you can concentrate on what's really deadly, which is the champs. 2 overloads on this phase. So we're going to do our map rotation. We're going to go to the right hand side, and I want these ads to follow me, but this is your opportunity to do some damage. Watch the teleport there, the ad teleport. An actual barrier can do that to you. If that was a barrier, I would have been in huge trouble there. Always go invis behind cover as well. If you see ads, always go invis. I'm actually going to... I seen an opportunity, so I went with it. The Fanatics are doing extra damage to the champ because they exploded. As I done my grenade, my double rocket, so that actually helped me to get the kill. Now I stunned the second one as well, but I didn't trust my luck. I wasn't wanting to get double overload like that. So because the Fanatics are closing in on me fast, so I thought I'll cut my losses. One champ down is a huge gain. I'm happy enough with that. We'll rotate to the other side. Our goal is getting these Fanatics. The boss, notice the boss, we've kited him over this side. He's totally de-aggroed. See, they nerfed the boss's AI as well. The boss used to have more aggressive AI when Glassway first came out. That's another reason why Glassway is a little easier. The boss isn't as aggressive as he was, and his HP is a lot less. Which, to be honest, is all good changes, because the boss can melt you pretty fast. I feel as though Glassway, for the most part, is in a better place than maybe it was. However, it was rewarding when you could beat it. especially when it first came out. But it's not as challenging now because the strats are in motion. Team play solo wise, there's been enough time of this Nightfall to be out for you to know pretty much everything you want to know about it. This champion's isolated. I'm going to use the super. I'm going to tether as well. Why not? The opportunity was there, so we'll do it. So no, as I said, I use my tether. I don't want to use my tether really on the Hydra. I will at the very end phase, but for the most part I'm using my tether on champs. The tether's not that good on the Wyverns for whatever reason. They just seem to sort of teleport out of it. And it doesn't... The tether doesn't kill a Wyvern. Yeah, it'll kill a champ. So I'd rather spend my super on a champ any day. So that's all champs killed. Now we can go back to boss damage. So we're just going to do what we're doing on the earlier phases. Now on this phase, it's important to know when the boss goes and doesn't go. The boss doesn't retreat. I don't believe. I believe he goes and then comes back immediately on this phase. So he's going to go immune at half HP, I think. I think I'm right in saying that. I think that's why people get a lot confused with Glassway, because there's so many variations with the spawns each phase. And learning it, you've really got to research it. If you haven't researched it at all, there's a low chance of you soloing this. If you don't know the ad spawns, there's a low chance of you doing it. If you're in a team and you don't know the ad spawns and you don't know how it works, there's a low chance you're going to do this. So the knowledge is power for this. It's actually less than half HP, so there you go. It's a little bit less than that. He goes immune. He's still there. Now we get our next wave. I'm going to do a bit of spawn killing in mid, but I'm looking to my left because that's where I last aggroed the boss. So sometimes the ads can sort of follow suit where you last aggroed on a zone. I've got flanked here. Always watch the flank. As soon as I saw that, go invis behind cover. Don't go invis in blind sight, in open sight. If you just go invis, like if you jump up in the air and do the trapper's ambush right on top of an overload, it doesn't really matter because that overload will run up and just melee you and kill you. So always invis behind cover. Just think of it like PvP. You never pop a Roman super in cover, in open sight. You pop it behind cover and then you go. Funnily enough, it's the same deal with this for when you're using the invis. Go behind and then go that way. We try to get this, we just weren't good enough for the. I got a direct hit, which got us weak. So I didn't get the damage in for that. And one of our rockets didn't do max damage because of the boss's shield. So we disengage. That's a waste of a rocket, but that's fine. No, we haven't lost so much on that. We'll have to reevaluate these overloads and try and separate them up a bit better. There's still goblins alive, so make sure we take those out. I'm keeping an eye on my right, because that's where the overloads are more likely to push from, the right hand side. See, when all the ads are down, the two overloads will stick together and stick close to the boss, especially when it's down to one. Now what I'm doing here is farming my grenade up. I can never push a champ until I've got my grenade, because obviously the setup. So I'm going to use a bit of invis. I'm going to use bomber on the class piece, using my dodge to get my grenade, and I'm just waiting. I'm checking behind just to make sure I'm not getting flanked. This champ's in a good spot. He's actually looking over the other side. He's not. He's back. He's facing me. So it just depends on where the other overload is. And there's a goblin up. So I'm evaluating my chances. I'm just seeing if this is worthy of doing it or not. Because I need a good 5 seconds to melt him. And if you think the other overload's going to push you into what I end up doing is just tether him. Because see how close that overload is to me? If I hadn't tethered there, that was the right choice. If I'd tried doing double rocket Witherhoard, the timing would have been off, and this overload probably would have killed me. So when there's double overload like that, don't be frightened to use a super. When it's just one left, it's not so bad. Well, actually, it is kind of bad. This is what I was saying. The overload will de-aggro when there's no ads left. It's just you and the boss. The overload will hold hands with that boss, and it's very difficult to take the overload because he just follows the boss everywhere. And now you can't just go out there and try and melt the overload where the boss is, because you'll just get melted. So you need to isolate. You need to sort of aggro that champ to you. Now I tried different things with not a lot of success until I ended up going right side in the end, because the boss is kited all the way to the left, so I can go outside and check where that overload is, because he's not anywhere to be seen. But he is actually in fact where the boss is. So I'm just going to come all the way to the right. The boss won't know I'm here yet. Eventually he'll get the idea that I'm here, because as I said, the AI of this boss isn't as strong or as potent as it used to be. What I'm trying to do is bait this overload to me. For the most part it's working a little bit, but I'm not sure if he's going to go middle or follow the boss. It's annoying because I aggroed him and then he de-aggroed. So I'm just playing the patient game. I'm not going to give in to the game. I'm trying to force to clear that overload where the boss is. I'm going to wait until I get that opportunity. I just need to decide on how to aggro this champ. I'm just looking if he's over right. He's not. Because the boss is on right, I can go out in the middle and look. Overload's next to that building, look. Next to that tower or wherever it is. So I'll try and bait him over left then, see if that works, but it was a pain. This was actually harder than when two overloads were alive, because at least with two overloads they push. When it's one overload, he won't push, man. Won't push, just stays with the boss. So we'll try our chances on this side. We'll go invis before we look out, because I know the boss is just there. Now I'm confused where the overload is. When that happens, play very cautious, because I'm not 100% where he is right now. Overload's all the way left, which was very surprising, so I'm going to bait him left. We get the bait correct. I go invis so he doesn't teleport. Grenade, then jump in the air to avoid getting splash damage. And then we just cleared him. I was gonna go for the finisher. The reason why I didn't is because the boss could have pushed left hand side. So as I got a finisher, he's just there now. He just shows up. So the boss could have actually killed us as I was finishing the champ. So I decided just to take that one down, because there's a high chance of dying, and when there's a high chance of dying, I won't commit to that. I won't commit to the finisher. I'll just clear the champ. We've set ourselves up really good. There's loads of bricks on the floor. Because of our optimization earlier, we'd taken the overloads with finishers and the barriers. It means some champions I can just flat out kill, and there's no penalty for that. For me, you know, it's a safer way of doing it sometimes. So we'll do our boss damage on left again, like usual. I'm waiting on my grenade as well. I want a grenade for the next phase. Just get it now. The boss will become immune at a 3rd HP. We're in position as well on the left to do some spawn killing on the portal. I believe it's Rivens. So we're back to 4 Rivens. No more overloads. The overload that I just killed, that was the last overload we have. I do a grenade, double rocket. Doesn't quite kill the Riven, but I know his one shot is finishable. Actually, that Witherhoard shot did I done another without shot, and he just come up there. Riven was killed. So now there's just one Riven. So the same logic goes. Do not touch the mini Hydra. Okay. Whatever you do, don't touch the mini Hydra. You need to take out each Riven on the 2 Rivens for each phase. So there's 2 here. We've just taken out 1. There'll be another 2 after this. I'm gonna go invis. I'm gonna scout. So I'll do a lot of scouting. When you're invis, that's what you want to do. Scout the room. That's your opportunity. When you're in left and right in the hub areas, you're none the wiser on where those ads are, the Rivens, where they're pushing to, etc. Unless you can sort of hear where they're coming from. But the biggest thing is a Riven. When you just bump into a Riven round the corner, that is the worst feeling. That's actually the worst feeling in the entire thing. Worse than an Overload. I believe I will still have to 1 Riven here. I'm just sort of seeing where the Rivens actually aggroed on that side, which was very strange. There's a bit of RNG with these Rivens, man. They can even teleport on top of you. It's something that I don't like. I like the design of Rivens. I like the fact that we've got an ad in a GM that's not a champ. That's extremely difficult to play against. I love that. I just don't like the teleportation thing. You know, I've double rocketed. I've done Witherhoard. I'm playing cautious here because I'm starting to get ahead of my own luck there a little bit. So I'll do my invis. I'll dodge as well. That resets the invis, and I'll go over the other side because that Riven was starting to get more aggroed as that was going on there, and I didn't like the way that was going. So we'll let the Riven reset. The Riven doesn't really know where I am right now. We can fill back up on heavy. We can wait for grenades if we want. I wouldn't recommend the super. The Riven can actually kill you while you're at mid super. So I don't recommend. Like if you're close to the Riven, he will kill you while you're mid super. So I wouldn't recommend that either. Watch out with the barriers. The barriers are there as well. They can snipe you and stuff, get you weak. So just be careful of that. The mini Hydra's following me, that's fine. The Riven's here, so I'm gonna Witherhoard, he's 1 shot, he's dead. That's good. So now we're safe. Risk has gone. Not entirely, but it's a lot easier. There is 2 barriers to take, but as I said earlier, this run isn't platinum. This run's designed for you to get the Triumph for the CONQUEROR Gilded seal, which does not require platinum. You know, I'm not somebody who needs the Ascendant Shards anyways. I'm getting Ascendant Shards all the time. It's double rep. You can farm Mastered up this week. I done a Mastered run the other day there in 27 minutes. Getting 2 Ascendant Shards per run. So I'm not doing this for the loot. I'm doing this more for the completion. So, but as I said, I may explore a platinum run. We might not. Just depends on how I feel and stuff. So there's still one more wave of 2 Rivens and another 2 barriers. There's 2 barriers out there already. So what I've been telling you to do all boss fight, not leaving 4 champs, not having 4 champs up. Well, I'm going to end up doing it this time because I'm not clearing these champs for platinum. You can tag them all and still get platinum that way. But I've already skipped a champ, haven't I? So it doesn't matter what I do. I'm not going to get platinum now because I skipped the champ from one of the starting encounters, so which I chose to. My intention was to skip him when I first set out to do this run. So you have 2 options. You can either take out the mini Hydra first or the boss. I would recommend you clear out the boss first. That won't end the strike because the mini Hydra is counted as a boss as well. So he's a VIP target, if you like, to also be killed for you to get the completion. Right? So, which is very strange. A lot of times if you clear a Nightfall boss, the Nightfall ends. That's not the case. So what I'm trying to do is aggro the boss to left hand side, my favourable side, for doing damage. The Hydra's in an awkward spot right now. You need to be also careful because there's 4 champions. There's 4 barriers. Now, they can snipe you through the little alleyways. They can actually come in this room sometimes. The more barriers up that there is up, the more likely they will push you like that. Now, you'll see it's going to happen soon. It's just because there's 4 barriers out there. If there was only one, a barrier wouldn't do that and would de-aggro. They're more confident in numbers. They're like wolves. More confident in numbers. So I'm kiting the boss over. I'm just shooting my bow. He's here now. I'm going to use Witherhoard. I'm going to pay attention to the mini Hydra. Something I didn't do good enough. So just be careful of that. He's melting me there a bit. But I knew good enough to back up a little bit. I'm taking too many hits here. I'm not super comfortable with it, so I'm going to go Invis. We're too much time into this run now to fail here, so I'm going to play a little bit more safer. But I am sort of stubborn on wanting to clear this boss first before the Hydra. Ideally, what would be best is if you cleared out the boss and the Hydra at a very similar time. That will then complete the GM before the barriers. Actually, there's not 4 barriers out there. There's only 2. My bad. There'll be 4. There'll be another 2 when the mini Hydra is killed. Actually, not. So I tell a lie. It's when the I think when the boss is killed. Or when no, it's actually linked to the HP because the boss is still alive. So when the mini Hydra gets 10% HP. Just to confirm, because I am saying a couple of wrong things. When the mini Hydra gets around about 10% HP, that's when you get your next phase. The Riven teleported behind me. I went in V straight away and got the hell out of there. I sort of overcommitted to damage, but I wanted that mini Hydra taken out. So we didn't do entirely what I wanted to do. Where I kill the boss and the Hydra at the sort of similar time, but that's fine. We can still deal with this phase. We've got enough ammo for it. We need more than 2 rockets per Riven, but what I generally do is at least 2 rockets and a Witherhoard is enough to deal with the Riven for me. There's plenty of barriers out there. I'm just going to rotate. Just scout the area. I think there's still one Riven up. He's here pushing. He's weak. That's the last Riven taken out. Now it doesn't matter what we do. We just take out the goblins. Any goblins in your vicinity. We're going to... oh, there's one Riven here. My bad. This is your last Riven. He's finishable, so we do that. He's finishable, so we do that and we get our overshield. Now it's the last couple of goblins, and then now what we need to do is just kill the boss. The barriers can push, as I was saying earlier, but you just need to sort of pay attention to that. The chances of them pushing is in this middle center alleyway. That's where the barrier can push from. But there's a sweet spot to stand so that even the barrier can't really hit you, so to speak. So if you stand around about here, I mean there's a little, like around about there I would say, then the barrier can't really hit you so much. It'll catch you off guard when it happens, for sure. He pushes there. So this is why the Witherhoard's really good, because it's doing all my damage while I look around the map. So if I'm doing sustained fire, I'm preoccupied, but with Witherhoard it makes it easier that way. We're backing right up so these barriers don't see us. We'll just keep doing Witherhoard and our bow to finish the boss off. But that was the solo GM for Glassway for the completion run. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.